Maybe you can read that. I can't read it. And it doesn't have a label on the back. Oh, it does have a label on the back. I can look on the back.
MF Edition, Connecticut. My father, Connecticut.
Ah, okay. Yeah, my father's. So,
Plug up in that camera. There you go.
I brought
And then La Roma de Cuba.
the Especial cutter today.
Fancy.
It's the fancy one. That sucker's heavy. It's real heavy. I don't know exactly what it's made of, but man, it's heavy. So it's the it's the wedge, however you say it. Man, I like that shirt.
A little bit of a smart aleck, but
It's okay. I like it.
it works because I work in that industry, so I can say it.
Nope. Hit it with my hat.
We got a gift given to me. It's a Cigar Politico koozie to cover my water cans.
Yeah. More merch is on the way.
All right.
We have our shirts. She showed me some hat samples today. So not only will we have the shirts on the website shortly, are they already up? The shirts are up, so we already had someone purchase some. So we thank you for whoever did that. And then have some hats and some koozies. Okay, the only problem that I have with the V-cuts is it has to be in line with the label. I know. It's OCD. I can't help it. Oops. You want to try that?
Sure.
I like it.
Am I doing this right?
Yeah. Perfect.
That's it.
See, then it gives you a nice little wedge.
I'll cut it on the other side too. All right.
Yeah, you can go the cross. I like that too.
Yeah.
When I smoke the long stem Gurkhas, I really like doing it that way because the draw is better and
That's
it
cool.
gives the flavor more of a center pull. I like it. So Glenn said, "This is my father's house. I can't read it. It's too small." I've had this one before. I like it. Did you watch the Masters?
Highlights.
Are you a golf guy? Do you like to watch golf?
Somewhat. I'm not going to follow it and watch every week. And I'm not someone... I figure if you're a golf guy, you have to watch the whole Masters from Thursday to Sunday. I'm not that much.
I don't know if I agree with that. Oh, that's good. Man, that's good. I can't decide, too, if when I'm smoking a cigar, if I like that first draw just because I like cigars. Will, are you smoking a cigar, too? That's an even better question.
If you're listening to the Cigar Politico live, you should also be smoking a cigar.
Ooh, challenge.
I've actually never had this La Roma de Cuba.
Really?
This, I think, is this just the basic main one? Because
Yeah, I think so.
it doesn't have any subtitles on it, just La Roma de Cuba.
I mowed this weekend and weeded my yard. And I don't have a big yard, but man, it just killed my back. I'm old. I know. You don't have to tell me. You don't even have to say it with your laugh. I know.
And everyone listening to this podcast older than us is saying, no, you're not. But it is noticeable.
Yeah. But yeah, I tuned into the Masters. I caught more than probably the average person. It was on, and then I kind of came and went. When DeChambeau went to shambles on Sunday, I kind of lost a little bit of interest because I don't really know why. I just like him.
Yeah.
Don't really have like a rooting
He's a Texan
fan. But then I like Jordan Spieth too, so because he's a Dallas guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
DeChambeau went to SMU.
oh, I didn't know that.
So
But Spieth went to Texas.
Texas.
So once those two guys kind of went out, then I was rooting for Rory. But then I was following on X. People were tweeting. And then I saw, like, seriously, like maybe 30 minutes into on Sunday that somebody had tweeted out that AI had predicted that Justin Rose would win in a 2-hole playoff.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, ooh, I should text Clint. Because you can gamble on the Masters.
Yes. I mean, it was cool that it was historic. Had a grand slam. Somebody.
1 of 6?
Yeah, I
One
think
of
that's about right, about 6. But the last one was Tiger in 2000. And, well, it wasn't his first. That was his first. And it was the Tiger Slam because it wasn't. He didn't do the Masters first.
Oh, okay.
He got it technically in 2001.
Right.
The following
Right.
April. So
Right.
I don't care. It's still within 12 months and you won the format. You know, that's still enough.
You know, I kind of forget about all the crap he went through with the Waffle House and stuff and the lady friend and the 9-iron in the back of the window.
Eileen.
You know, also, I watched the Kobe documentary on Max or X or whatever, whichever streaming platform it's on. I had forgotten about all that stuff, like the stuff that happened with Shaq and you know, like when a figure like that passes away, some of that stuff kind of gets pushed to the background. This documentary did not push it to the background. Now it was like in the, I think it was a 3 or 4 episode, and it was the middle of the series. So
that and just time. You remember things with rose-colored glasses. You look back in time and remember things better than they actually were.
yeah,
For the most part. Remember people better than they actually were for the most part.
yeah, and I think that's probably a good thing. We talked about that too with Biden, and then
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
I'm more convinced now than I was during the election that he will go down as the worst president in history.
I reserve my right to hold my opinion on that because I'm not sure.
You going to keep Jackson back there?
Yeah.
Trail of Tears Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing, yes.
Maybe
it's-
Afghanistan is bad, dude.
It is. Yeah. I feel like, is it Benjamin Harrison in only 30 days? He got pneumonia, the inaugural, and died? Was that William Henry Harrison?
William Harrison.
William Henry Harrison.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'd have to go through the list from
And some people
Coach
say,
Elliott's 8th grade history or 8th grade English class.
yeah.
Okay, hold on. You had him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember one of the things he made us do was mark and do letters?
Yes.
Like how we had to send it to a celebrity. Did you get yours back? Wait, hold on. Who did you send yours to?
I did not do a celebrity, I don't think. If we did, I don't remember it. We did have pen pals in other states.
Ah, okay.
So
Oh, there's smoke ring. Look. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's 2 of them. Oh, it's coming off your scar.
yeah.
So I did Tim Allen.
Okay.
Sent mine to Tim Allen, and he sent a letter back. But the reason I say that is because my daughter. Oh, I have something for you. There you go.
Oh. Thanks.
It was William Henry Harrison.
Okay.
Shout out to the chat.
Thanks, chat.
But my daughter is having to address labels, like label address things.
Mm-hmm.
And so she didn't know how to do it, so we had to teach her. She
Oh.
Googled it first, and then she asked us a question. She was like, is this right? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But they don't teach that to kids anymore.
No.
You don't mail things either, to be
You don't.
fair. To be fair. But the Mavericks are in the playoffs, kind of, sort of. I want them to lose. 2 reasons.
Who are they playing?
They play the Kings. They're the 10 seed. So if they win, then they got to go play whoever loses the 7-8 game as a play-in. So I'm trying to decide if they win, was this a success? Was the trade a success? To me, if they don't win the finals, the trade was a failure because last year, to me, the barometer is you got to win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't win it this year and they don't win it next year, the trade was definitely a failure. They play the Kings, and then they'll turn around. That's on Wednesday. If they win, they turn around and play on Friday. I don't remember who the thing is. I took a screenshot of it, but I don't have my phone. I'm just so disinterested. Even as a Mavs fan, I'm not interested. Because I also want them to get the pick. I want them to enter the lottery. So the top 14 teams enter the lottery. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Or the bottom 14 teams.
Yes, that's a top.
Yeah.
Sorry, bottom 14 teams. Yeah, I don't want that. And the Rangers had a rough weekend. We were hyping them up last week.
Yeah.
Went 0-3 against the Mariners.
Yeah.
Pitching has been okay, but man, we can't hit for nothing. It's the bottom of the lineup.
It's a long season.
You keep saying that.
We'll get them figured out.
Dude, you keep saying that. We're, 15 games in?
Lose 62 games, you still win 100.
I know. Thanks, numbers guy.
I mean,
Thanks, numbers guy.
I think they're off to a great start. I'll say this, if this may not make sense to anyone. I have good hopes for this season. I don't have any expectations for this season. I'm not going in saying, we've got to win a pennant or we've got to win the World Series. I'm not going into that. I do have high hopes of that. And maybe expectations of at least a playoff run.
I'd like to win the division.
At least the ALDS, right?
Yeah. I like to win the division because I hate the Astros. I have Astro hate.
Yeah,
I hate them.
Strong Astros hate. Bunch of cheaters.
But yeah, the Stars, are they in the playoffs?
Yes.
So they're in the playoffs. When does that start? You don't know either.
Mm-mm.
I don't either.
No.
Our Stars fans are going to be mad at us.
They are.
I just don't care.
Don't.
I tried to.
Yeah.
Okay, very niche sport, though.
It's hard to follow on TV.
It is very hard to follow. And we talked about this.
I'm not going to go to every game at the AAC, so, we'll see.
We also had the U.S. title game for LOVB, or Love, something like that. The volleyball league. It was good. It was a good game. Went to 5.
Okay.
It was exciting. I know you did not pay attention to that.
Did not pay attention to that one. Nope. I was going to. I had it on, in the queue and just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of soccer games this weekend, making up for rained-out games. So.
Oh, yeah. You texted me yesterday. Said y'all were playing.
Yeah.
Now, is this club soccer or is this...
We're still club, yeah. No. I'm
league.
Sorry. Still rec league.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That hadn't started yet, so.
Yeah, we're done with club volleyball. Club volleyball is over. Thank God. I love it when it's happening. I love watching my personal kids play. Thank God I'm not coaching that anymore.
Mm-hmm. He did great. Older son scored multiple goals in each game he played this weekend.
Oh, is this the Twins?
No.
No.
They scored too. They dominate because they play against their older brother, who's 5 years older than them, and all the neighborhood kids too.
Right.
And so they go out a bunch against these other 5 and 6 year old little kids, and it's co-ed at that age. So you got girls on there too.
That's awful.
It is awful. And
whoever thought that co-ed sports from a get-go is a terrible idea.
It is. And not to have this podcast topic that we've covered a little bit before, but even at 5 and 6 years old, the athleticism is strikingly different.
Yes.
The speed, the dexterity, everything.
Well, and even as they get, one of the kids on my little baseball team, and we are the Bad News Bears by definition, had a kid hit the ball today and run to center left. And I'm like, where are you going? That's a whole nother conversation in itself. But one of the boys has a twin sister, and so she was out there warming up with us. And it was even that she's a very good softball player, and even that she couldn't move as fast as them, and she's a very good athlete.
Yeah.
And it's just very apparent. Like, even when we scrimmaged their first grade basketball team, so it's a boys team and a girls team, and they practice at the same time on different ends of the court, like, they're a much better team than us. But we still beat them because we're faster and stronger, and I don't know. It's not fair.
Yeah, they dominate. One of we call them the twins. They're 10 days apart, but he's a head taller.
That's very confusing, by the way.
Yeah, we have 3 adopted kids. He's a head taller than everyone.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know yet how to use his size, but he just intuitively does it. Like he can push somebody over just getting up close to him, even he's just turned 6. But my oldest son, he is so emotional.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty even keel. Mama is very emotional, so that's where he gets it from. And so in one of his games this weekend, he was going for the goal. He's going to score. He kicked. The goalie went to cover it up, but their forearm hit the ball and like booted it out of their grasp a little bit. Like when the goalie went to jump on top of the ball, they didn't cover it. So then he stays right with it, comes in to kick and score, but the goalie is hungry hippoing it to try to get back over the ball.
No.
He didn't like get him in the face or anything, but he kicked him across his arm pretty good.
Oof.
But still, like,
Yeah.
if you're down on the ground reaching for the ball and the ball's free, it's free game to kick it. As a goalie, you kind of got to, that's your risk, right? So he got called for a foul on that. He didn't like that at all because it wound up scoring, and that was taken away. But anyway, then a little while later, he was going in from that same goalie, gave him a big elbow across the face. And he wears glasses when he plays, and so that got him pretty good, and nothing got called.
Oh, no.
he was
How was Mama? Was she okay?
Yeah. But he was so upset about that. And everybody, Mama and her mama is also super emotional, does not sit down at games, walks back and forth, stays with the ball, like very into it. And so they were all saying stuff. But then it was like, I always like when it comes full circle. And I'm just talking a lot about my kid on our podcast, but the goalie.
Hey, it's our podcast. We can talk about what we want.
That's right. And we do talk about local sports. This is like local rec league soccer.
Yes, I love it.
11U soccer.
We can spend the whole time talking about this if we want to.
If we wanted to.
We're going to get into that in just a minute.
That's right. So it was a goal kick. Okay. Ball went out wide. It was a goal kick. And so my son had about, I don't know, maybe a 10-yard distance off the goalie. And goalie kicks it. Son stops it with his chest, lets it drop right to his foot, and kicks it over the goalie's head, top left corner, and scores. And I was like, that's full circle. Like, the penalties didn't matter.
That's right.
That got him back excited. Right. He was back in the game.
He take his shirt off?
Oh,
man.
No, I think he did. Man. I think he did a stupid Fortnite dance or something. But talking about that, like there was the game on Sunday. Another one of his kids pretty good on his team, like just wasn't with it. And this kid's pretty good, but like he wasn't trying to make any kicks. Like if the ball would come to him, he would just kind of stick his foot out there and kind of give a little kick. But this kid's pretty good. I'm like, man, he was just tired. You never know what's going on in a kid's life. You're a teacher, you know that.
Yep. But
then we got a penalty kick, and the kid who received, I don't know, fouled, whatever you call it, didn't take the penalty kick. The coach gave it to this other kid who kind of wasn't in it all day. And I was like, I don't know, coach. He hasn't been doing that great, And it was like 3-2 at that point. So It's like you need the score. And he scored, makes it. Okay. Into 30-mile-an-hour wind. Okay.
Yeah, because it was blowing.
That's big wind yesterday. So he was going into the wind at the second half of the game. He makes it. Man, that kid played great the rest of that game. And that as a coach, like sometimes
that was a victory for the coach.
Just that big pick me up. I was like, all right, coach, I see what you're doing there. All right. I'm going to shut up and sit down as a parent over here.
Well, speaking of coaching, one of the hardest athletic feats that I'm discovering that I'm not good at, but kind of good at, is pitching, coach pitch to 8-year-olds. Now, I've beaned a couple, not going to lie, not intentionally, not on purpose. But one thing I won't understand is why do they turn into the ball? So if they're standing as a right-handed batter and they just turn right into it and face the ball, it doesn't make any sense. And they continue, and like not just once, but like twice. The same kid got hit different times of the thing. It's the pitcher. I know. Blame the pitcher.
Hit me once, but hit me twice.
Yeah.
Maybe it was them.
But then
blame the kid.
There's two. They're stepping onto the plate.
Oh. I don't know.
So then if I throw it outside, they can't hit it because they're so far back. If I was a strikeout pitcher, I'd had 9 strikeouts today. It was great.
Striking out those kids.
They definitely don't want. I mean, call me up, coach. Put me in, Bruce Bochy. Get some strikeouts for you, bud.
All right, Uncle Rico.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard though, because like I don't want to hit the kid, but I also don't. You know, it's a mix. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. So I put that list on there. So we're talking about World War II in class. And
Okay.
so it got me thinking, like, what are your favorite war movies? Modern war movies. So that means World War II and to current.
My favorite movie of all time is The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Cold War movie.
New one or old one?
No, it's old.
No. They have a new one.
No, they don't.
Yes, they did. They came out with a remake of it.
They better not have.
Yes, look it up.
Are you serious?
I'm dead
How do I
serious.
not know this?
I don't know.
It's horrible, I'm sure.
I don't remember when it came out, but they did do a remake
The
of it.
Hunt for Red October, they did a remake
Yes.
of. I'm going to watch it tonight if it did.
While you're looking for that, mine in no particular order. I put 4. Actually,
A couple of these I don't know.
Greyhound is on Apple Plus.
I love it.
Great movie.
I've watched
Tom
it a
Hanks
few
movie.
times, yeah.
I show that every year. 1, because it's not rated R, and I can show it. 2, it has Tom Hanks, so I think maybe the best military actor of all time. Just put it out there. Which leads me to my second one.
I mean, something jumped up and bit me. That was iconic.
Oh, Forrest Gump. That's really not a military movie, but a great movie. It's not a war movie,
It's
though.
a Vietnam movie. It tells the story of Vietnam.
Okay.
It's not a war movie.
Will says it's called The Dirty Dozen. I don't know what that means. I don't know I don't know how much the delay is on the Twitch. So it may be like 10, 15 seconds. The next one is Saving Private Ryan. One of the most iconic movies of all time. Opening scenes, probably the best opening scene of any movie I've ever seen. Then we have American Sniper, the story of Chris Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, his favorite war movie of all time is The Dirty Dozen. And then I don't know that I've ever seen that. Then we have The Hurt Locker, which is also a more modern one. And then I had a tie for Full Metal Jacket and We Were Soldiers. Are you going to go see the movie Warfare?
Yeah, that's the one I didn't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen previews for that.
It's new. It just came out
Okay.
this weekend. And it tells a story from a house in Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm not sure. But
Are you thinking about Crimson Tide with Gene Hackman?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
The
Hold
Googles
on.
and the Reddit say there's no remake of The Hunt for Red October.
We'll look that up for us.
It's our researcher. Is that Jamie?
Huh?
That's our Jamie.
He loves that you just said that, by the way.
Well, we are Rogan Bros, according to
TikTok.
Which, by the way, okay, it's the most popular podcast in the world. Sure, call me a Rogan Bro. But to the TikTok commenter who said we were Rogan Bros, that's not cigars they're smoking on the show, buddy.
No, they're not. They're definitely not. I mean, some they do.
Yeah.
Some they do. Sometimes they do smoke cigars,
That's
but
true,
most of the time it's not a cigar. And we are definitely just smoking cigars.
But we're talking about politics and smoking cigars, so that makes us Rogan copycats. I'll take it.
It's okay.
I
mean,
wish, right?
and I don't even think we really just talk politics. So like now that we've been doing this, what is episode 24?
Rogan has like experts on it. We're not experts.
We're
in anything.
not experts, but I think we're more current events
Yeah,
than we are anything.
we do a lot of that.
I think that would be more of the vein that we fall in.
Rogan is an interview podcast.
Yes.
You have someone on, you interview them. It could be politics. It could be defense. It could be science. It could be anything. So that's not us, but I'm not insulted by it.
He did have an interview this week with Dave Smith and Bruce Murray. No, I can't remember. Will tell me because I called him and ranted about it to him. And it was just so, I don't like when British people tell Americans how we should think. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
Yeah, we beat you.
And you would be speaking German if it wasn't for us.
Yeah, that's true.
And twice, not just once, twice. Now, obviously, there's some nuance in that. I get it.
There's some.
I know a lot about World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
But
That is your wheelhouse.
that is, well, actually, my wheelhouse, my expertise, actually, if we're going to go there. I actually have a master's degree in colloquial history. So that's from like 1600 to about 1750.
Okay.
Colloquial American history.
You got some.
I got a lot of stupid knowledge
Yeah.
about that time period. It's particularly the event of the Boston Massacre. That doesn't come up very much on the podcast, though.
No, it's the first time.
Douglas Murray. Douglas Murray.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think that back on the comments, I just, you hear, not just Rogan says it, but you hear other people who are much bigger than we are don't read the comments. And now I get it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, most of them don't make sense.
no. Like someone just commented on the Twitch stream and I don't have a clue what they're talking about. Something about capitalists and capitalism. Like, we haven't even talked about that.
Not yet.
But like, it just doesn't, like, it's obviously bots.
They're all bots.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you follow our Facebook Messenger?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, that's all we've been getting.
yes. Yeah. So I'll but here's the thing. You get dinged if you don't comment back to them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that then.
Yeah, I just say no thanks. And they're like, come on, bro. We've been called bro multiple times on that. So it's like, yeah,
Definitely a bot.
Oh, for sure, 100%. And then like we got one on Instagram that commented back something about promoting their merch, and so I was like, what is this? So I clicked through it, and it's obviously just not real.
Right. Yeah, most of those comments, I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. I just can figure out A from B, and like I have no idea what you're talking about. The one about the hammer, because we talked about how Schumer wanted a tariff 20 years ago on China for the same reason Trump does, because of trade deficit. And this guy was like,
yeah,
if you only had a hammer to do a full LS swap, so I'm like, you're not a bot, because there's no bots talking about doing an LS swap. But then I showed you a video of using a deck or hammer to build a deck. Then
yeah,
I'd be like,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's very obvious, like you put clips on there. So like,
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the algorithm. So you can only, if you do anything more than about 15 to 30 seconds, it doesn't really get played because people either lose interest or it's not going to put it into the For You algorithm.
Yeah.
So you can really only put about 15 seconds out there, maybe a little longer, but 15 seconds seems to be about the wheelhouse. Well, sometimes our conversations taken out of context make zero sense.
Yeah. Sound bites. Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes. Like, and there's been multiple episodes where like I've gone through and I haven't been able to find just like a short clip where it didn't either A, make me look like an idiot, or B, didn't make any sense at all. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it's like, well, what am I even supposed to clip this with? How am I even supposed to put this out there? Because it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, and a lot of the premise of what we talk about and of the podcast in general is that there are multiple ways to view something. Right, and you can't get that in 15 seconds.
No.
So, yeah, we're probably sunk if we're trying to get a point across in 15 seconds. Oh, the Cowboys suck. How about that? That's 15 seconds.
There you go.
There, done.
Clip.
Talk about that,
Edit.
TikTok boy.
Done. It got you fired up. Because then when I sent it to you, I immediately saw you log on and click and go through the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was great.
I was looking at it. But then at the same time, never mind. We just saw that, Cowboys are doing voluntary workouts under the new coach, Shoddy. Like, I could not care less right now. I'm not excited about that. Normally, if your team, when they start voluntary workouts, like, all right, man, workouts are starting. The draft is coming up. Like, then we're going to have OTAs. And
is it a bad thing that we don't care? We're both Cowboy fans.
Then we get to training camp. And then you should be excited about this. Chiefs fans are excited about this, which that's my second team. Eagles fans are excited about this. I mean, Ravens fans are excited about this.
I haven't even noticed sports radio really talking about them.
There's a lot of Rangers talk right now. And
Mavs and a little bit of Stars and a little bit of draft.
Yeah, definitely some draft talk, but yeah, I'm not excited at all.
I'm apathetic, I think is the right word.
Yeah.
With it, because it's like until you prove that we can get past the first or second round consistently, I struggle to care. Now, gambling has helped. Gambling has helped me care more about the NFL.
The same way fantasy makes you pay attention. But
I'm really bad at that.
Well, but you still watch,
Will said Jerry can't hurt me no more. Well, I mean, it's true, right? Because it's a complete disaster every year, or it feels like that anyways.
If they make a run though, he'll hurt me again.
Yeah.
If they make the playoffs and we go in and we feel like we got a shot at that wild card round.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. You're
And
gonna
then
get
we
me worked up.
lose to the 7th
And
seed.
then my heart gets ripped out again. It's like,
Yeah.
the old story going back to your old girlfriend all the time, and
Yeah.
it just rips your heart out. I mean, not that I would know, because I married the woman I dated in high school. So
Yeah. We're bad at this, but we're typical Cowboy fans. It's the way it goes.
And that's gonna happen. I'll be on here ranting and raving in October about how great it is,
Yep.
and then January will come around and we'll be talking about a first round exit
Yep.
or not making it at all.
Yep.
And it won't be Schottenheimer's fault. All right, where do you want to start?
Gavin Newsom is 100% running for president.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Saw him on Bill Maher. Guy was making sense. And
I just don't trust the guy.
no, I don't. But that's why I say he's 100% running for president, because he's not out there playing to his base; he's playing to the center. And I don't think he thinks he'll have much of a challenge in the primary. Now we can talk about. I'm sure the Democrat field will be wide. They'll start off with, I'm saying, taking the over on 7. Over 7 will enter the field. That's my take. I think it's going to be very wide. There's going to be a lot of people saying,
I agree with
really
that.
messed this up. There's going to be a lot of people saying my ideas are what's going to take the Democratic Party to the next level, and you'll have a lot of the fringe type candidates that'll populate the field. But Gavin Newsom is in the middle of that field. He was talking about ways that California needs to incorporate ideas like you see with Doge. Like he and Bill Maher was like flat out saying, can we, like, they were talking about regulation in California and how it hurts people. And Bill Maher flat out said, can we like Doge he cusses a lot out of this thing, And I'm like, wow. So much pushback from the left on anything that Doge does right now. And then you have Gavin Newsom and Bill Maher saying, we need to do this in California.
Well, and AOC has she'll run too, and
you know who I think would be the Democrat candidate that would have the best chance of winning? It's the non-politician. If they find their Trump.
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
And those who have not been paying attention to politics would think I'm crazy for making that statement.
You're not. He's not. When it comes to politics, he's not as articulate as he is about sports. He can go on a rant about sports and just be quick and witty and deliver. When I've heard him talk about politics, he's a little more standoffish. Doesn't really drive into the point. He doesn't have a lot of ideas. He just points out a lot of things that are broken and need a new look and need to fix, but he's not offering ideas on how to do that yet. Maybe he'll get a team around him who will. Maybe he'll polish that up. If not him, someone like him would be their best chance at winning in 2028.
I concur. I don't think Gavin Newsom beats whoever the Republican candidate is. I don't think AOC beats whoever the Republican candidate is.
I don't think AOC does. I think Gavin Newsom has time to reshape his image. I think he has enough time. And he's for the most people, I mean, if you ask somebody who pays mild attention to politics, who Gavin Newsom is, they know he's the governor of California. They know that he went and had an unmasked dinner in L.A. during a mask mandate when restaurants were shut down. Like, they know that story because that got really blown up. They know that California has its share of problems. But I think that's probably all they know about him. So he has a blank slate with a lot of the country. And he's very polished.
He is. I will agree with you on that.
He has an Obama level of polish.
He's just...
And for the voter out there that
either
did vote for Trump or either maybe didn't vote at all, who does not like that about Trump, will like that about Gavin Newsom.
Unfortunately, I agree. I agree with you. Someone on Twitch said Mark Cuban. Here's why I don't think Cuban will run. I think if he does run, he'll get knocked out in the primary.
He jumped the shark with supporting VP Harris.
Agreed.
He came all out, made those dumb comments like saying he doesn't see any strong women around Trump. Like, dude, like, that was not the right call. That statement will haunt him.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I don't think he's.
I don't think he's interested in that. Maybe he is, but
I think everyone is interested in being president if you have some leaders in the party telling you could be president. I think everybody can get interested in it if somebody's telling them you have a shot. But by himself, I think you're right. I don't think he's interested.
Yeah, I just think too. I hate to bring it back to Luka, but this trade, and him removing himself from power, I think it hurts him politically too.
In Texas, it's not going to vote for him anyway.
True, but
does Mavs have a national following?
I mean, yeah,
because of Luka.
Because of Luka, yeah,
and maybe Dirk.
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, and I know the international following doesn't matter as much, but you got to think when you have the best player on the planet, that's a platform for you. And now you don't have that.
Yeah, but is Cuban blamed at all for Luka?
When
he sold the team.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know if you saw this, but he kind of got on he was caught on the socials when they were chanting fire Nico. Mm-hmm. He was caught like putting his hands in his head and our hands on his head and kind of making, gestures to like, hey, knock it off. Yeah. But the problem is politically, that's a loss for him.
Yeah.
That he's taking an L in some form or fashion. You could say that politics and sports don't need to cross and the whole just stand there and dribble. But the problem is they do intermingle and they do cross over.
I get that because like selling the team and then that decision being made by the team does look like a failure for him.
But it's a political loss too.
Yeah.
As much as it is a business loss, like they're saying that business may take, $1 billion hit. And so, it takes money to run for president too. And I know AOC and Gavin Newsom have a big backing from the Democratic Party. And I just don't know if Cuban can carry that much of weight along with it. But yeah, I saw AOC and Bernie Sanders, out on a stage. And I hate throwing numbers because it's like, well, there were 30,000 people there. And then like 2 days later, they do a cell phone, data grab. And there was actually only 15,000 people there. I'm like, well, that's still a lot of people. Now, I don't know if that matters or not. To some it would. To some it won't. But while you're talking about Bill Maher, did you happen to catch that he went to dinner with Trump?
Yes. I actually want to play, and I may put it on the pod. I may just put it on the YouTube. But it's like his monologue at the beginning is like 13 minutes of him talking about it.
Yes.
And
I shared it on our Facebook.
Okay, yeah, he's getting eviscerated for that.
He told the truth.
He did. And it's Bill Maher, dude. He's not, like he said, he didn't turn MAGA, That's crazy. Just because he can sit down and have a conversation with the president of the United States.
Well, and not only that, like, he is a Democrat of, how do I phrase this? Like, he's a centrist Democrat. A Democrat that's center left. How about that? And especially when it comes to the woke ideas. Does that explain it better?
Yeah. I think he's more of a traditional Democrat.
Yes.
Traditional liberal.
Yes.
Old school liberal.
Which I believe so is Donald Trump.
He used to be. He's moved.
But that's where the party has gone.
Yeah.
Right? And so you still have those fringe guys on both sides. But I think that Bill Maher and Donald Trump are closer than, say, an AOC and someone on the far right.
Yeah, they have more in common than just their show and
correct.
Like Donald Trump's public appearances would.
Correct.
And Bill Maher talks about that in his monologue.
Yeah. And it was great. I stopped and I watched every bit of it because, one, I knew that was happening. I knew that the dinner was happening because he talked about it on his show. And the fact that he got him to autograph all the terrible things that he said and Trump agreed to do it.
Yeah.
That's that just shows you that it's.
Yeah. For those who haven't seen it, Bill Maher went in and had all of his people pull everything negative Trump has ever said or tweeted about Bill Maher. And it was like a list of 86 things. So he had his people print it all out on a sheet of paper, and Bill Maher took that with him with the hope of getting Trump to sign it, and Trump signed it for him, and he showed it on the show. You know,
Yeah.
here you go. Like it's just, and even Trump tweeted the night before Bill Maher got there, like talking bad about him the day before he gets there. You know, like I don't know.
But that also goes back to what we talked about, like in episode 2 or 3 or 4, maybe it was 1, when we talked about the mean tweets. We haven't seen a ton of those.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there, here and there, but it's definitely not near
No.
what it was in the first one. And I know that it has to be the secretary, not the secretary. God dang, I can't even remember her name. You have to remind me every time.
Susie Wiles.
It has to do
Chief
with
of
her.
Staff, yeah.
It has to do with her. And it has to do with the fact that there are more people around him who are not just being yes men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And here's why I think that. Because one, Marco Rubio today in the White House, did you see this? Did you see him in the White House today with the president of El Salvador?
No.
Okay.
I saw a clip of Trump talking with him, but that was it.
So today in the White House, the Supreme Court came out and said that Trump mistakenly sent a non-citizen to the El Salvadorian prison.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, let me get his name so I have it right. And so the Supreme Court came back and said, "Hey, you have to get this guy back." Well, then El Salvador said, "No, he's not a citizen of the United States. We're not sending him back. What do you want me to do? Smuggle a non-citizen into the United States?" And so basically, Trump today kind of land blasted a media member from, I believe it was CNN, maybe it was MSNBC, and said, you know, this guy's not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, it was a bit of a mistake, you know, a paperwork mistake, but he was a member of the MS-13. He was here illegally. Those are two things that are facts.
Mm-hmm.
And the El Salvadorian president was like, no, we're not sending him back.
Mm-hmm.
So, does this pass the constitutional litmus test?
Yes. If Biden had sent a non-citizen out of the country, I wouldn't be upset about it. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I do have a problem with one quote that he said. And now the El Salvadorian president is talking to President Trump, and he says, to liberate 300 million people, you have to imprison some. That's why it works. Now, that's too far.
Yeah.
100% too far.
Yeah.
And
Was he? El Salvador doesn't have 300 million people. He's talking about the U.S.
he's talking about the United States.
Okay, yeah.
He's talking about the United States and how that's a bit far.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
how we do things here.
No. Now that leads me into the next thing. I don't think that guy's going to get to come back.
No.
And if he was mistakenly sent, but he's still not a citizen, then he doesn't have any rights here anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why this is such a big deal.
Right.
But Rubio's popped back at the reporter and was like, "Look, we followed the law. Mm-hmm. He does not have any rights here. Mm-hmm. So he is now he was a citizen in El Salvador. That's why we sent him there." And so I think that was an interesting exchange when we talked about Trump's group of an inner circle is much more confident in their ability and their stance, and therefore Trump is more confident in their stance.
And here's something you see with that, because I didn't see that clip, but it goes to like a bigger narrative that you've seen just from the 2.5 months that Trump's been in office, almost 3 months. That in the first term you would have only seen Trump speaking about that. You would have seen Trump. You would have seen Trump's press secretary in the daily press briefing speaking about that. To have Rubio in the room, to have J.D. Vance in the room, and have them speak on these things, is great, because they speak on it better than Trump does. When Trump speaks on it, he's like, he does not like being questioned. He's very direct and he's very emotional. Someone like Marco Rubio is not emotional. He's very to the point, very pragmatic.
He's a polished politician.
He is. Well, not only that, but he presents it well, and he presents the argument well for the audience that's going to hear it. Like presenting it to that reporter saying, listen, you're saying we broke the law, we followed the law, and here's how. Let me school you a little bit. And he can do that, and he can do it in a polished way and not come off as a jerk. Like he was a great Secretary of State pick.
I agree.
We said it in the beginning. Trump was building a much better team in Trump 2.0 than they did in Trump 1.0. And that's continued to prove itself, except for our national security advisor who doesn't know how to build a Telegram chat.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's true.
Got that one strike on you, but everybody else I like so far.
So, and also, this is not on the run sheet, but talking about campaign promises that are being fulfilled. I think I sent this to you, that he released his medical examination.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how often he's going to do this.
Yeah.
I would assume the president is.
I think you get one every year. It's just your annual physical.
I think he's doing it more often. I think he's doing it every quarter.
Okay.
Now, I don't know either, but he released it. And so I looked at the numbers and I'm like, wow, he's actually really healthy.
Did you see NFL memes?
No.
Obviously, everything they post is a joke. It's satire, right? But they posted a pic. I don't know. It was a football player. And it was like, according to Trump's physical, he is 6'4", 235 pounds or something like that. And it said, according to, and this is also, I forget what NFL player it was, but it's an NFL player who was also 6'4" and 230 pounds for reference. He's just jacked, you know? And then there's Trump on the golf course with a gut, you know?
Yeah. Who drinks a lot of Diet Coke.
But if you know how, I don't know, weight in the body works, that's not exactly a falsehood.
No, it is 100%.
You could be
you could
be 235 pounds of Trumpness, or you could be 235 pounds of muscle. You're gonna look different. It's what that 235 pounds is made of.
That's 100. It is made of Diet Coke and McDonald's.
It is 100%. Some KFC in there too.
Yeah, and
just like his fried chicken bucket.
You know, Twitch is right. They said the media is just looking for a way to nail Trump in his most popular policy, immigration and deportation. Well, yes, 100%. The problem is he's now surrounded himself with knowledgeable people.
Right.
And that wasn't the case before.
And I do agree, and I've had some really good conversations with a couple of very very left Democrats this week in particular. A couple even that used to work with my wife. And like we talked about before, in Texas, if you find yourself a more rational but left Democrat, most of the time there's a lot of teachers who fit that bill.
Yes.
And so talking with them this week, and they were posting some things, and I was like, it's not exactly true. You know, we'll talk about it, the SAVE Act, the Real ID, also talked about, firearms purchases and things like that. And I had some comments saying that's not exactly true. This is actually the way it is. And we're able to have an actual conversation about it. But here's the thing is, like, if you really take a step back and look at Democrat and left pressure and media pressure on Trump, they are looking for, and in some cases finding, like with this El Salvadoran deportee, that one mistake you made. But as a teacher, if you have a kid that has 99 wins and one mistake, even though if it's a big mistake,
you're not going to point out that one.
Right. Like, we're not asking for perfection. And like, when you look at, and you hear Democrats like Van Jones and Republicans talking about how the tide of people coming across the border has just stopped.
Right. Yeah.
Like, even Van Jones, super Democrat, super liberal, on Obama's staff, Obama's campaign, can say, like, this is one thing that he has flat out done. He said he was going to do it, and it's actually happened. Like, the tide of people coming across our southern border has just stopped since he's been president. People are turning around because they don't think they're going to have a chance whenever they get in.
But why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing.
Is my question. No, but like, that's not really a question to you. It's kind of rhetorical.
Yeah. It's that's what I mean. Like, when I look at the story of the El Salvadoran who was deported, and maybe you could argue should or shouldn't have been, but how that shook out and how maybe that's a mistake that they made, and they can acknowledge and say, we did this, it was a mistake, he's not coming back, but here's how it is. But then you look at the wins when it comes to immigration, and you take a family or families of all across our country who have daughters who are going to college, and you think about the family of Lake and Raleigh, who, an illegal immigrant, was arrested and released, made their way down to the South and committed that crime and killed their daughter. Like, you see people saying, well, that could have been my kid. My kid's going off to college.
Right.
My kid is at college right now.
Right.
That could have been my kid. And they see that stemming the tide of illegal immigration and criminals coming across their southern border, and they see that as a good thing. So take those wins for what they are, acknowledge the defeats, acknowledge the mistakes, call them out what they are, don't sugarcoat it, and then we move on and we do better. That's a tough concept, especially in politics. It's a little pie in the sky to say that we can get there, but that's where I'm at with it. Like, I'm not saying that everything has been done perfectly and they have made zero mistakes, and I don't expect them to not make zero mistakes going forward, but I do expect the wins to outweigh the losses.
And I think we're there.
Yeah.
We're right there. I mean, I think he's kind of admitted defeat a little bit on the tariffs, a little bit. I mean, he's not.
We kind of called it, though.
Yeah, we did. But I think, too, it's going to be an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And you phrased it perfectly, not to toot your horn, but he's gone to a more precise tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Tariff. Sorry, my texting came out of me. Tariff. And he's now doing more targeted tariffs, which is what it should have been in the first place, but you have to make a big splash. I get that.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I don't want to say it puts egg on his face, but he talks so strongly and heavily about it. And then now it's like, oh, well, we're not going to, supercomputer chips are not going to be tariffed.
Yeah. Well,
that's just as an example,
but also backed off down to 10% for all of the other ones except for China. And like we said on the podcast last week, this is really about China.
Right.
All of the other tariffs are just extra noise to make a point to the world as a whole that Trump is serious about this. But the key is China. That's where the biggest trade deficit is. That's where the most work needs to be done. And sure enough, they're the ones that still have their over 100% tariff, which they've also placed back on us. But like we talked about last week, we have a 5-to-1 trade deficit. So, for every $1 that we tariff on China, it hurts them 5 times as much. So the target was always China. That came out right after we recorded when you scaled back the tariffs on the other countries. Again, it can't be the only tool you have in your toolbox, which is probably what our TikTok bro is talking about. But TikTok bro, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying it cannot be the only tool you have in your toolbox. You've got to have other things.
We have to get a shirt made, TikTok bro.
I agree with you, man. It is a powerful tool, but it can't be the only one you've got. You cannot do an LS swap with just a hammer. And if you weren't listening at the beginning of the pod, that's not going to make any sense to you.
But I think, too, this is one of the things, I don't know how to say this name.
And the market rebounded, too.
That's what I was about to go to. NVIDIA, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Okay, NVIDIA is now going to start producing super chips in the United States.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I will give Biden and his group props. They're the ones that passed in the budget that we needed to start creating these super clean super chips and have them built here. That was during COVID. We have a mutual friend. I don't even know if you know this, but we have a mutual friend that builds clean rooms, builds clean manufacturing buildings. You need a light?
I'm good.
I got
it's an invisible flame.
Oh, okay. I can't hear it either. That's because you're not. There you go. There we go. Don't burn the microphone. But they started, the microchip manufacturers started doing this back in 2021. So this is a victory that Trump is going to claim, but it actually started back in 2021.
But we talked about this on the podcast too. Biden did do that with taxpayer money.
Correct.
Where Trump has private investment.
Correct.
So sure, I mean,
but the idea is at least floated. I'm trying to say that, like, my point is it was started a while back, and now we're starting to see the production happen because it takes time to build that stuff.
It does.
Right? It takes a long time to build those clean manufacturing places.
And like I've said before, Democrats do Democrat things, Republicans do Republican things. Like Biden using tax dollars to accomplish that goal is a Democrat doing a Democrat thing, a Democrat way.
Correct.
Democrats are going to raise taxes and use tax dollars to accomplish their political agenda and political goals more so than Republicans, because they're going to use private investment. And that's one of the big dichotomies between the parties, and we can have an actual discussion about that. But yes, that when we found out with COVID how reliant we were on China for those, not just China but all of Asia, it became important to start building those back here. And being North Texans, we are the home of where it was invented, right here in North Texas, the microchip.
Yes.
Texas Instruments.
TI.
Yep.
I kind of always wanted to work there. Not gonna lie. I don't really know why. I think it's because I always liked their calculators. TI-84, and then you could have the TI-84 Plus.
Yeah.
And then you could type, 8008. And turn it upside down.
A middle school kid. The best was where you had the whole calculation where you had several, you'd add, divide, subtract, multiply, and then arrive at that number, right?
Correct.
That was when you're super cool.
Correct. I could never do
Maybe
that.
we were just nerds.
I was never smart enough to do that. But let's talk SAVE Act. I'm kind of interested. I think you probably know. I sent you some stuff this week about it. And I have some family / friends that are very upset about this.
Yep.
This is one of the things where when I look at the opposing side, I can't for the life of me figure out why this is a bad thing.
I have one thing I don't like about it.
Okay, go.
And this is the conversation that I had with someone who is a Democrat and a liberal. And I said, listen, it was the whole thing that came out this week about a married woman who changed her name is not going to be able to vote because it said you either have to have your driver's license. The whole narrative was your driver's license isn't going to be enough. The rest of that statement is your driver's license is not enough if it's not a real ID qualified driver's license, which for
Can you give me the definition of a real ID?
Yeah. So it's just enhanced. It's just an enhanced. All of ours in Texas are now. Every state in the United States has had a real ID law since the last 3 years. And you cannot fly on an airplane starting on May 7th in the United States unless you have a real ID license. So it's been a requirement for other reasons besides voting already. And the Real ID Act was passed 20 years ago to start this process. And here we are just now getting to it, which is how government typically moves.
So you have a problem with that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So
sorry. I didn't follow. Sorry.
For at least the last 3 years, every state that issues driver's license has begun to issue Real ID compliant driver's licenses. So if you've renewed your license in any state in the United States in the last 3 years, which not, some of them renew every 6, like, I don't know, whatever, you have a Real ID license. And if you plan on flying anywhere 3 weeks from now, you better have one or you're not going to be able to. You can, of course, use your passport. But if you don't have a passport, if you had a passport, that works for voting.
I was about to say, then it works for voting too.
So I think, but so that's the thing. But here's what I don't like about it. Basically, what this law says is you can go vote with your Real ID compliant driver's license, which majority of the country have, or a passport, or you got to bring your birth certificate. Obviously, someone who has changed their name, birth certificate's not going to work because it's not going to match. And if you don't have a Real ID, then you're sunk. But what about people who don't drive? And I'm not just talking about, I know kids these days, I sound like an old dude now. Man, I got my license the day I turned 16.
Oh, yeah. Now, it is a lot more difficult, I will tell you.
But they don't do that anymore. My daughter did. Because of appointment times and things. It was a couple weeks after she turned 16. But, they don't do, you have people getting into college and getting, 18, 19, 20 years old and they don't have a driver's license yet. That's not as uncommon today as it used to be. And so, but also, what about older people who don't have a license anymore? And maybe they have some sort of ID that still works or something, but I don't like tying it. If you want to have identification for voting, just have a voter ID card. Now, people don't like that because they're like, it's a national ID. And there's been pushback for 30, 40 years about not wanting to have a national ID card. But I'm like, you already have a Social Security card.
Yeah.
What's the real difference? And everybody's like, I don't want the government to have that much information about me. You file a tax return. Well, they already have it. What is on your tax return that would not be on a government ID? And I think voting is a right. I think it's also a privilege. Not every citizen in our country gets to vote, either by age, they're a felon. Not everyone gets to vote. It is a privilege. So if you're telling me, hey, to be able to do one of the most important things in our country as a citizen, you need to go and have a compliant identification card so we know that you're a citizen and so we know that you can vote, which, by the way, every other country does.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why it's a big deal.
Because there was a time in our country, and this is where I've seen a lot of pushback that gives me pause. I don't agree with it 100%, but it gives me pause, where black people had other tests to be able to get to vote. My wife teaches 8th grade U.S. history.
Right, poll taxes.
Yes. She gives every year. She does this to her 8th grade students. She gives them just like 16 questions from that test.
Yeah.
As a pop quiz. Now, these are all things that by this time in their trajectory as an 8th grade U.S. history student, they should know all these things. She's taught every single thing that's on this of the 16 questions that she gives them. They walk in the door, put everything under your desk, get out a pencil. We have a pop quiz, and she gives this to them. And then she uses that as a method to teach it. And so there was a time, and that was horrible. I don't deny that at all, but I don't think having to prove that you are a citizen and therefore legally able to vote is the same thing. But I am cautious about this bill, and maybe some of this gets fixed in the Senate. It was only passed by the House, and some of those things get fixed. But as it stands right now, the whole married women aren't going to be able to vote. And here's the thing, people that are saying that, are there no married women that vote Republican? Do you think that any party would pass a bill that would negate all married women from being able to vote in their elections? Like, you got married women voting on both sides of the aisle. So that just doesn't pass muster by itself. But, I am cautious about this bill because I don't want anyone to not be able to vote who's legally able to vote. Now, I don't know what the run time's going to be. When this passes, I don't know when it takes effect. I feel like it's going to be pretty immediate. I feel like it's going to be for the 2028 election, if not 26 for the midterms. I don't know. I haven't actually read the law that the House passed, except for snippets. So I don't know when it takes effect. And maybe there's some run time. It gives you time to get out and renew your license. Because anybody who renews their license right now, you don't have to do anything special. All you have to do is go renew your driver's license you have right now, and it'll be a real ID that you get back. And if you want to fly, you got to do it anyway.
Well, I guess my point is you have to have an ID to do so much.
Yes.
Like rent a car.
That was the other thing that came up. Was like, let's make all the same requirements to vote, the same requirements to buy a handgun. And I'm like, actually,
it's a way more difficult.
It's much more difficult. Like, there's this narrative out there that you can just go buy a gun anywhere. You can't.
I mean, you can go illegally.
Yes. Or you can go from like some individual, like, but you can't police and stop that. That's not what we're talking about. But if you go into a store to buy a firearm, you are going to show your identification. You are going to fill out a form and have a federal background check. I bought several. There's going to be these same steps. So that argument didn't last either.
But even to rent a car or to purchase alcohol, there's a laundry list of things that you have to do with an ID. Now, one of my pet peeves, okay, we're going to get into Coach Smith, Kyle Smith's pet peeves, is my wife's name on her birth certificate is her maiden name. Now, right. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it bothers me.
On her birth certificate?
Excuse me. On our children's birth certificates.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
I don't know why, but why?
I don't know. It's crazy. Side note. I think this is crazy. I mean, I love it, but I think it's crazy. When you adopt, your adopted kids get a new birth certificate with your adopted parents' names on it.
What does it say?
It has our names on it. Like, what's funny is
Hold on. Let me think this through. Hold on. But the birth certificate
of our adopted children,
your adopted children has your name on it.
Yeah.
What about the birth parents?
Don't exist.
Huh.
And the records it's gone. And it's their new name if you change their name. And their new last name, of course, that would always change. But
I guess I never really thought about that.
But it's our name. So what's funny about this is our first adopted child, we got her when she was 5 years old. We adopted through foster care. And so not pull the curtain back too much, but she was born about 6 months after me and my wife met. and our names are on her birth certificate. And we met, and 6 months later, apparently we were at a hospital in some county that
Interesting.
You know, that's what the birth certificate says. So that is interesting, talking about what's on birth certificates.
So the Twitch says a mother's maiden name is included on the birth certificate to generate genealogical purposes
Oh,
to
that makes
ensure
sense.
that the record can be accurately tied to her, even if she changes her name in the future due to a marriage or divorce.
Mm-hmm.
This practice helps maintain clear lineage and identification of a child.
That's true.
Thanks,
that makes
AI.
sense. Yeah. But
But I don't have to like it.
no, you don't have to like it. Because that was not her name when
No.
that child was birthed.
And like every time we have to pull it up.
We know that, so it's okay.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Because how many people are you showing your birth certificate to anyway?
Well, actually, a
Okay.
lot because our kids play sports.
Oh, yeah.
And
But
it's
it's
like,
that way for everybody.
I know, but it still bothers me. And I rant and rave about it every time.
It can bother you.
And she's like, really? This conversation again? I'm like, yes, it bothers me. And I don't know why it does. It's one of those irrational things that bother me.
Yeah. I don't think, like, big picture, okay? Like, I'm not sure that this SAVE Act, you know, and the voting law is perfect. I'm not saying it doesn't need some tweaks. But in general, big picture, I do not have a problem with having to prove that you have legal right to vote when you go to vote. I think there needs to be a reasonable amount of time for anyone to comply. I show my license every time I vote anyway. And
Okay, I had to scan mine this last time.
yeah, you always do.
And
Like,
I don't, again,
they look at it, they say, "Is this still your address?" Yes, it is. And like, I show
and then
my
it
ID.
matches the registry. If it doesn't match the registry, you get a
And I know
ballot.
I know states like run their own election law, and this is going to change that and federalize it. Which again is like with these things we talk about in general. That's not a Republican idea to take something away from the states and give it to the federal government.
Yeah.
In general. So again, you talk about kind of how the parties and the shifting and the things like that.
And the constitutional litmus test.
Yeah, to federalize anything is generally not a conservative or a Republican thing to do. But Trump has proposed it, so Republicans are all about it. And Democrats hate it.
It just doesn't make sense.
I'm like, Democrats, you should love this. We are taking something away from the states
right.
and bringing it under the umbrella of the federal government. Like, you guys should be all over this. But
It just doesn't, it's one of those things that I like common sense things. And to me, if I'm going to vote, I should be able to show my ID and walk in and say the same thing. Scan it. This is who this person is. And I get to vote.
yeah.
And if I don't have that, then I forfeit the right to vote.
Yeah.
Whoa, was that me?
What was it?
It sounded like a burp, but I heard it in my ears.
It's the Twitch.
Yeah, it may have been. But it just doesn't make logical sense to me. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it shouldn't be difficult to vote. If you don't have an ID, then you don't get to vote.
Right.
Then therefore you don't get to drive to the place to vote, which is a whole nother conversation I'm not really ready to get into. But it just doesn't.
And there's always curable options. I've shown
Right.
up at a place before and I had moved and hadn't changed my license, and they told me like, "Hey, we're going to let you vote, but you get it's a generic ballot. You don't get the specific to your precinct choices, and it's a provisional ballot." Meaning that
That's the word I was looking for, provisional.
meaning they're going to have to, they call it curing. And at the end of the day, the way this works is because when races come down really tight, you'll hear them say, well, they have some, this many ballots out here that are provisional
Right.
that may need to be cured.
Right.
But if the margin of victory is more than the number of ballots that need to be cured, they don't even worry about it.
Right.
They only get into that if they have to, which makes sense. That's
Right.
efficient.
That's why my wife's vote didn't count in
Yeah.
the presidential election, because hers was a provisional ballot. I don't really remember why. I think we talked about it, but I don't remember because we got a letter later on the reason why it wasn't counted. But I don't really remember. I probably should have looked into it a little bit more. But
No, I think it needs
Trump
to be,
won by a lot in the state of Texas.
Yeah, I think it needs to be reasonable. It needs to take into account situations like that. But I don't have a problem with having to prove that you have the legal right to vote, to be able to exercise that privilege.
Doesn't it make sense to me?
And every argument I've heard against it doesn't hold water.
Yes, 100%.
Somebody was, again, talking about this, like, well, you can still fake a real ID. Oh, okay. Can you not fake a non-real ID? Like, what's your point?
Well, you could, I mean, even like the little voter registry that you get, it's just cardstock. You
Yeah.
can print your own.
Yeah. And they have, like in Texas, again, like when I hand them my license and I have my voter ID card also, like we have both of those things, they look you up. Like they're not just taking your word for it. They have a computer, a laptop in front of them, and they're pulling you up and like making sure everything matches. And like, I have no problem with that. Like I'm happy to exercise like my right to vote. And I'm happy to have some requirements on there to be able to prove that I can exercise it. This is one of those things where I think it is common sense. I think the law needs to be written carefully, but I think it is a common sense good thing.
Concur. Okay, we have 2 things left that we haven't covered. I want to talk about both of them. Both of them are not long-winded ones. The first one is the Iranian United States nuclear talks have gone back up. You know, Trump removed us from that deal in 2018.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a good thing. Number one. Number two, it goes back to my point that I made last week. War is bad.
Yeah.
In this case, there's no good in that. And I think that we have got to be very careful with the way that we word these treaties and the way that we go about this. And it seems Rubio is very, very involved in this, which I like.
Yep.
So is Tulsi Gabbard. Apparently she was over having negotiations with certain people. Again, those are all reports. I don't have anybody that I know for sure that knows that. But I think that at least a conversation being had is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And there will be direct talks, is what's been going on, which is a big deal.
Explain that.
Well, because Iran is recognized as not friendly, many times the talks are what they consider to be back channel, or our emissaries talking to their emissaries in like game of telephone, things getting, you know, even if they're in the same building, if they're here or we're there or we're meeting in a neutral location, our leadership is in one room, their leadership is in one room, and we have people that are basically passing a piece of paper back and forth. Okay. That's one way to do it.
Like 1999 high school.
Yes. But the way these talks are going is Tulsi, Marco, Rubio having direct talks with their counterparts in Iran, which is better because they're the decision makers.
Correct.
If you're having to talk through your people, sometimes your message gets diluted. Okay? Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
If you're having to talk through your subordinates to someone else's subordinates, that message gets diluted. But if you have the decision makers talking with each other, you know, you can be a little more forward, and you know, you can say, hey, this is what we really want.
And the nuance isn't lost either.
Yeah, you can actually communicate, this is what we actually need, this is what we really want.
And it's a storyline I'm following very, very closely.
Yeah. And there'll be plenty of people who say we shouldn't talk to Iran at all, but like, buddy, like, what's your alternative? Like, are you really okay? Like, yeah, we're just gonna go there. No. I'm not for that. You can be, but I'm not.
I reserve the right to change my opinion.
Sure.
Because as I said last week, I'm not married to them. But at this moment, this is a good thing for me. I do not want to go to war.
And you can get to a point where your options become more limited.
Correct.
But I think Trump and Rubio and Tulsi are doing their best to keep that from getting there. Because you don't want to get to a point where you're playing a zero-sum game and your options are limited and you only have a couple things on the table that you can do. And those couple options involve military action. I think they're doing their best to keep the talks open, but also assert America's dominance and our needs in this area that Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Yes. But I think those negotiations also go into the Ukrainian-Russian conflict as well.
Sure.
They have been, Trump, one of the things the campaign promised that we could probably get him on right now is he said he would end the war
on day one.
And we're now 3 months in, and 4 months in, I guess, and it's still going on.
Sure.
And so I guess in the back of my brain, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I'm not really upset about
Didn't
that.
have an expectation for that.
No. But it doesn't seem that we're making any ground up. Now, for those that don't know, the winter time is a very slow war time in that area. It's not. You're not going to be moving a whole lot.
Lots of people have learned that lesson.
Yes, we talked about. Did we talk about that last week, or did I just talk about that in class? See, I lectured all day today, and it gets mixed up sometimes. But you don't go to war with Russia in the winter, and so the Ukraine environment is the same.
Yeah,
you can't do it, and so
tell
I think
Hitler that. Tell Alexander the Great that.
Yeah,
listen, people have learned that lesson.
Hopefully, we're learning. But I think that those two conflicts, and even though there's not a military conflict at the moment with Iran, it could very quickly escalate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a good thing that they're at least having a conversation.
All that Iran needs is another ally.
Correct.
If they get someone else in their corner, then it becomes a totally different game. I mean, and that happens. You see China and Russia. I remember one of the definitely left-leaning things that I read is The Economist. It's a magazine out of the UK, and I remember,
not a bad publication, by the way.
No, if you read it, understanding their bent, it's really good content, and it's told from a worldwide or global perspective.
I don't like the British though.
Yeah,
we established that earlier in the podcast.
We did beat them, with the French's help.
Touche.
It's a French word. Good job.
You're welcome. I don't know the French for you're welcome.
Something French. So the Twitch will know. But
I wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway.
That's true. You probably shouldn't. But yeah,
I forgot the point.
Yeah, I did too. Anyway,
it's okay. We can move on. We're kind of over that. I said 2, but now there's actually another one that I just saw. But the Epic City.
Yes.
Do you want to?
I have a very big picture I thought about this. Epic stands for East Plano Islamic Center, and it's a neighborhood that is being built by, I don't know what you would call it. Are they Islamist? They're Islam followers. I don't know what the
followers
word is.
of Islam.
Followers of
Islam.
Muslim. There we go.
Okay, I wasn't sure where you were going.
That was the word that wasn't coming to my head, and it's a community.
Pause. I'm glad that happens to you on the podcast. I know it happens to you in real life. It just hasn't happened yet on the podcast like it does to me.
Yeah, I feel like some of this also is recording at the end of the day. You know,
and your brain's tired.
That has something to do with it too. But they are building a community, and it is really close to us. It is called the East Plano. Is nowhere near Plano, which Plano is a large suburb in northeast Dallas. It is in the county directly contiguous to us, like where those counties kind of come together. So very close to us in the town we live in. And it is a Muslim community with a mosque in it. And the whole idea is a community for them to live in. And it's got enormous pushback.
400 acres, right?
Yes. Basically just a subdivision, a neighborhood. And it's got enormous pushback. But here's my big picture take on it. Now, you have the politicians doing the politician speak saying, we're not going to have a Sharia town.
I did see that.
Okay, I agree with that. We can't have that because that's not the laws of our country. But I'm not going to burn my new koozie. Is there anything they're saying? And I don't care if you want to trust them or not, saying that they're going to do that. And here's the thing, you can't say they can't do that, but just because you're the ones in power. And here's the test you need to think about. If you are not of the Muslim faith, and so you disagree with it for that reason, and you say, well, I want, because I'm Christian, whatever, to be able to say no to this community, if the tables were turned, would you still agree with that? If we had non-Christian leadership and you wanted to build a Christian town or subdivision, and they said, no, you can't do that, how would you feel about it then? Like having religious freedom in our country, understanding that we were built on a Christian faith and Christian values, and that's what our country was founded on. Loosely. Okay, people of all different spectrums of that faith.
Just go at it, man.
Just
go. Just do it. You didn't got to stop around it. You got to stay. Because I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
right?
You can't say you have religious freedom and then say you can't do that. Now you can say they have to follow all the laws of our country. They can't bring in their own laws from their own faith. But you cannot say that they can't do that. And so, one of the things that they're trying to get them on, for example, is they're saying that they're operating an illegal funeral home. Have you heard what they're actually doing? Every person,
No.
every person is, first of all, there's nothing there yet. It's a 400-acre field. They haven't built a single thing. They're getting ready to apply for permits. Everyone who dies there goes to a regular old traditional licensed in Texas funeral home. But then when they leave the funeral home and come back to the mosque or wherever for the burial, the funeral, the actual funeral service, part of the Islam faith is they wash the body.
Correct.
So they're doing that. And our lieutenant governor who's running for Senate, Ken Paxton, is coming at them saying they're operating an illegal funeral home. That to me, again, it's like that is a stretch. Like, and I think they're just pulling out all the stops and trying to get everything they can, to do this. Now, here's one thing that, because you think like, well, they cannot restrict. You can't say you have to be a Muslim to come live here.
Correct.
Like you can't do that either. 100% agree. So that's we're on. We can't discriminate that you could build a community and call it epic and cater to and have a mosque in the neighborhood. There are mosques around neighborhoods all over the country.
Correct.
In our metroplex where we live and everything. You can't say that, but you also can't say that no one else could live there. But their HOA fees are pretty steep, and 3/4 of that fee goes to the mosque.
Right.
So if you're not of the Muslim faith and you want to live in this community, you've got to be cool with 75% of your HOA fee going to a mosque.
Is that a tax break?
What do you mean?
So
Most HOAs are tax free anyway. There's
Ooh.
tax free associations that are fiduciary.
No. My HOA fee, would it be tax write off because it's a
No, because you're not the one paying it. You're paying it to the HOA.
Oh,
It's not a charitable contribution
Dang.
for you.
dang. Pay your taxes, guys. Tax time is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, yeah. We haven't talked about taxes at all, and tomorrow's April 15th. That's a good thing. But yeah, so
Here's the problem. It doesn't pass the constitutional litmus test that we've talked about.
That will keep people that are not of the Islam faith, a lot of them, from
Right.
moving into that neighborhood.
Correct.
So they will accomplish their goal of having a Muslim community. Because I don't know
Right.
a lot of people who are of another faith, of a Christian faith, are going to be like, yes, I'm going to come live here, and 75% of my HOA fees are going to go to a mosque. They're probably going to have a problem with that, and they're probably not going to live there.
Are there any rules against that?
No? I mean,
Our HRA in our neighborhood's awful.
yeah, they all are.
I don't think yours is.
Defund the HOA.
You have to park the right way on your neighborhood. You informed me that.
We do have a very zealous, well, yeah. We have plenty of people who break the HOA rules and just continue to, and I'm like, how do you, but
They just put a lien on their house.
I guess.
They did that in our neighborhood.
Yeah, they can. I get a letter every once in a while because I don't put my trash can up fast enough, which honestly, I don't mind because I don't like all the trash cans being left out in the street. And we generally don't have a problem with that in this neighborhood because they are, our HOA person works we have an office in our neighborhood, so she's here all the time. So they catch stuff.
Oh, see, ours is not in our neighborhood. Thank the
they
Lord.
have an office next to our amenity center, and they're there, supposed to be there. That's a big topic on the neighborhood Facebook page too, about if they keep their hours or not.
But I agree. The
Yeah.
Twitch says HOAs is good old fashioned communism. But I concur. Back on the Epic thing, I think that it doesn't pass the constitutional litmus test that they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it. I don't
Mhm.
think they should do it. But I can't in this hand and not in this hand.
Yeah.
If I want to be able to go to my church on Sunday, then
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to. Or if I don't want to go to my church on Sunday, I should be able to not go. And I think I cannot like it because I don't like it. But
They have to follow, just like
they have to follow the rules.
that followers, just like every other faith in the country has to. They got to follow the rules. That's it. That's the way it works. 100% agree with you there. 100% agree they cannot discriminate if someone not of that faith wants to live there. Cannot discriminate against that. But if you want to have religious freedom to practice your faith in the United States of America, you have to allow others to do it too, as long as they abide by the rules of our country.
I can't think of a thing that
And
would,
that's my question. If you have a problem with this Epic community, run it by that test And then tell me if you
See,
can still logically have a problem with it.
the
still.
person that I was talking to about this is extremely far right, and they're like, "Well, David Koresh couldn't have his religion." I'm like, that's a bad, it's a bad comparison.
It is.
But that also tells you the kind of conversation we were having as well. Tells you where it was headed.
As a local Texas community.
Yes. If you don't know what that is, do some research in Waco, Texas.
Everybody knows what that is.
I bet there's people that don't.
Maybe now. We sure knew about it.
Oof. That's a bad deal. Have you been by there?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been to?
I've visited it, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
There's a guy out there who's still a believer.
Kind of eerie.
He's like the little spokesman.
Yeah.
He'll tell you all about it. It's just slabs
Yeah.
because everything burned down.
It's very eerie.
Yeah.
There's been very few places that I've ever been where I just thought that this place is not meant to be rehabilitated. The other place I felt that way, and this is going to be like a total left turn, is that USS Arizona. When we went and saw that when I was in high school, I truly didn't understand what we were doing there. I mean, I knew what it was, but
Yeah.
I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. And we got there, and it's just silence. It sounded like death, if that makes sense. And that's the only other place I've ever been where I felt that way.
Yeah. My uncle was on it. My great uncle.
USS Arizona?
Uncle. Yeah, he got off.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a bad deal. Another transition, and this is going to be a more locally based to our area, but anybody that lives in a growing neighborhood. Should fast-growing towns intentionally slow new housing starts and build up so they could build up the infrastructure? Man, our town is terrible at this.
Yeah. A lot of them are. And there's only been a couple towns I know of in our area who have done this. And they got killed for it and reversed it, where they said basically no new builds until we get our roads fixed. It's a lot of jobs in our area. Construction, residential construction, road construction. I mean, it employs a lot of people.
We live on the I-30 corridor between Dallas and Sulphur Springs. And it's the worst roads I've ever driven on. I've driven all over this country. We've traveled all over this country. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. Houston's pretty bad too.
I will say,
But right now, this current way that they are,
yeah,
it's just horrible.
yeah, it's hard to keep up.
It's like, for me to leave your house, it should take me 5 to 10 minutes. Today, when I leave, it'll take me 30 minutes to get home because they shut the freaking road down. And there's constantly accidents, and they're like very bad accidents.
I worry about it most as a parent.
Yes.
Because right now for our high school, there's a ton of construction right there. And like I'm sending my now 17, but one time 16-year-old daughter to go drive these roads that have concrete barriers on the white lines on each side of the lane with no room for error, no room to go anywhere. If anything goes sideways or haywire, like you're all just going to pile up and wreck, and it happens every single day.
And not even driving fast.
Right.
Like we were getting on 30 yesterday right in front of where the exit or the entrance ramp that we have to get on, and you're concrete barrier, car. And they're all trying to get into a 2-lane, and there's no, like you said, no margin for error.
Right.
But I don't know what the solution is.
In general, big picture again, I don't like artificial like ceilings or floors to markets.
Hold on. The Twitch said Abbott needs to get hold on. Abbott needs to contact the Amish to knock this out.
Man, I don't know. I don't know how the Amish work with concrete.
I don't know if he's talking about
But
the epic or if he's talking about the construction.
they do work an extra 6 hours a day.
They do.
Remember that movie? You know what I'm talking about? We do everything in time and a half.
Yes. Oh, gosh. The construction bothers me because it takes so dadgum long with no seeming progress.
No, it's always under construction.
And so it's like the neighborhood that we live in, that road has been under construction for 2 years. And like, I realize it takes time and weather and delays and all that stuff, but no seeming progress. You're like, okay, now we have another pothole. And then when it rains, it floods and washes everything out. I'm like,
no, we're two people who did not go far after high school.
no.
We're still here. And so I don't mind it as much when I hear people I know who have lived here their whole lives complaining about it and saying we need to pause the growth, which not a lot of them do. What I think is funny is the ones who have been here for like 2 years are like, we got to pause this growth till we get the roads under control. I'm like, you just moved here. Like, you're part of the people you're trying to say shouldn't be allowed to move here.
I mean, to be clear, I've been here since 1987.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly when you...
82.
Okay. They just fixed the street that my parents... They're just now starting it. Like, it just started, and it's been bad since we moved. We moved houses in 1994.
Yeah.
And it's just now being fixed.
Yeah.
And it needed to be fixed in like 1995.
Yeah.
Local politics.
I will say, though, we have bad roads of construction and traffic. But when we leave this state and cross the Red River and get into Oklahoma, my kids ask, what happened to the truck? Because the roads, like you notice a difference in the same thing. I think the worst roads I've ever driven on in my life are 2 different places. One, New Orleans.
That was pretty bad.
You drive through New Orleans. It is like, did they blow bombs off on these roads or what? And Mobile, Alabama.
Well, Louisiana in general does not have great highway system. The state highways are not great.
No.
Even the interstate highways that are supposed to be kept up by the state are not great.
Yeah. Now, Oklahoma has the Indian Nation Turnpike, and that sucker is like Talladega Speedway. But in general, those roads plus New Orleans.
But again, no room for error because it's not a concrete wall.
No.
It's a grassy knoll.
Yeah, that's all you
got.
got.
And if you make a mistake or you have to avoid a deer, you're going flying.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should even say this, but I'm going to. When we used to go to Wisconsin, we'd go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad would be like, all right, guys, look up for the teepees.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Now that I think about it, like, ooh, probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Ooh, they say you should run for county commissioner.
No.
I'm out on that.
No. I would be a horrible one. And I understand. Like, I'm not saying that. I mean, those are the ones that are making the decisions. We learned during COVID how much authority and power the county commissioners and the commissioner's court has. I understand, and they make those decisions, and it's not an easy decision. Like, I'm not saying it's cut and dry or anything like that, but I would be a horrible politician.
I'm too honest.
Yeah, I don't care.
I speak my mind.
Yeah.
I care.
I care. I just don't care enough about what other people think. The name of our podcast is Cigar Politico, and a Politico approach to politics is you do what your constituents would want you to do. And based on some of the conversations I've had, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Please have it, because I have mine. But
I also tell myself that opinion is stupid.
Yeah. I would not be a Politico politician.
Me neither.
So,
anything else exciting?
I mean, Easter weekend coming up. So,
I'll be running at the regional track meet. Well, not me, but those days are over. But I have 2 competitions coming up in the next 2 weeks. This weekend is track. Next weekend is my academics.
Mm-hmm.
I still think I'm the most successful coach I've ever met.
Tooting your own horn now?
Yeah. Like, how many people can say that they led a team that I was the assistant coach, but was a part of a regional volleyball team in the regional finals.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my academic UIL teams made it to the regional finals. And now I have both relays and individuals competing at regional track meet.
Academics and sports.
Academics and sports
You're
all
an
around.
anomaly. And you had some basketball success back in the day.
Back in the day, we got second.
That's in the state.
In the state. So
it's pretty good.
I've never won a state title, so I don't have that, but I'm very successful as far as that goes. It's just, I know how to communicate with kids. I can convince things, and then I've also been very fortunate, especially my track coaches are very good.
Mm-hmm.
My assistant coaches are phenomenal, like some of the best I've ever worked with, and I'm tongue in cheeking, obviously, for those that can't pick up the sarcasm a bit, but when did you hear that?
Yeah, it's my daughter coming home.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the heck is that? But you cannot be a successful coach without good assistant coaches.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I don't care what you're coaching. I don't care what you're doing. If you don't have someone to bounce ideas off or someone to say, hey, that's a dumb idea, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then you do it anyways, you can still, you know, I mean, you're the head coach, but you can't be successful without good assistants.
You got your Marco Rubio and your Tulsi and your RFK.
Yeah, my track coaches are phenomenal. And I just think that, you know, our volleyball staff was very good, you know, very, very good. We all worked very well together. And, you know, the academic part is more on the kids than on me.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of provide the information to them and then encourage them and, you know, hold their feet to the fire a little bit.
Yeah.
But and then it's taken me 5 years to get this far. So it's not like it's happened overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I got a chance with that academic team. One of those academic teams has a shot to get to state.
That's awesome.
The first time in my school's history in that particular area.
That's awesome.
But they got to put in a little bit more work. You get 1 out of 8. You can score anywhere from 0 to 80. In the district, we scored 60. I had 2 kids score 60, 2 kids score 50. We're going to have to – everybody's going to have to increase their score by at least 10. I think the 2 guys that are seniors that are leaders on my team, kind of team captains, they can get there.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 2, I got to put a little more effort.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't do anything to help the competition other than just prepare them, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes. So
Good
have
deal.
Have a good week.
You too.